Welcome back to another episode of the Goonery. We said last time we were hoping that this episode was going to start out in high spirits, and what do you know? It does not. Brandon, Michigan, obviously, I guess you could say had a rough go of it against Georgia in the college football playoff semifinal. And I know from what you've said to me so far this week that you weren't that upset by it, but I mean, just what a brutal game start to finish for the Wolverines.
Yeah, if you look on the on the surface of the game itself, it was a bad game. It was an absolute beatdown for all four quarters. And of course, as a Michigan fan, you know, we had all types of optimism going into the game, and rightly so. I mean, we were basically the hottest team in football at this point, and I think unfortunately, you saw the difference between two things. You saw the difference between a veteran coaching staff and a relatively young coaching staff. And then you saw the difference between how many 5 stars you should have and how many 4 stars you probably shouldn't have. And, I feel like with the team that we had this year, very good team. And obviously, you're going to lose some key pieces like Hutchinson and Ojabo and Hassan Haskins. But if you look at the lighter parts of the game, which was when the game was pretty much decided, and you had JJ McCarthy and you had Donovan Edwards getting some time and Andrew Anthony, and you see those guys and you're just like, yeah, they got beat, but they're not quite dead. It's one of those things where you look at Michigan and it's easy to say, oh, they're not going to be back this year because it's going to be the same old Michigan where they have hype and then they ultimately crash. But you can tell by the talent that they have on this team now, and they have the talent coming in, Michigan is not going anywhere. And I can say that with the utmost certainty because usually I would be very, very careful about my expectations for Michigan because usually they don't live up to those
So,
expectations.
yeah, I just something to add to that. You said that you don't think Michigan is going anywhere. Do you think there's any validity to the statements that Harbaugh is potentially considering jumping back to the NFL? I mean, I feel like we hear it every year. I feel like we feel it. I feel like we hear it every year, but I feel like there's a lot more smoke this year than there has been in years past.
So there's validity to it, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's literally the same thing for everybody that's at a job that feels like they are above their pay grade. He just wants a raise for Michigan. And if this is a power move by Harbaugh, then from after the season that he absolutely deserves to have this power play. So of course, the Raiders, knowing the kind of organization that they run, I mean, hell, they threw a shit ton of money at John Gruden, so you can almost guarantee they're going to do that for a better caliber coach. So the Raiders are going to throw money at him, and of course, honestly, Chicago Bears is going to throw money at him. So he's going to have offense. He's going to have a lot of interest, but simply it's a power move, and it's something that Harbaugh absolutely deserves to do. And I think Michigan will do everything in its power to keep Harbaugh at Michigan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it'll almost be, I mean, after this year, especially seeing what he's able to do at the college level again, I think that Michigan will probably give him a blank check, no problem. But the Raiders can still pay you more than the University of Michigan and the state of Michigan can at the end of the day. And if you're the interim coach for the Raiders, who is it? It's Rich
Versace.
Bisaccia. Yeah, you got to be upset, right? You're hearing these rumors. Obviously, I mean, they were left for dead. Now they're playing for a playoff spot this week on Sunday Night Football. You hear those rumors. I'm sure he doesn't actively look for those rumors. You don't want to see that, but you have to think. I mean, they were left for dead when Gruden left, and they've rattled off 5-6 wins in the last 7-8 weeks or whatever it is, and they're right in the playoff hunt. You got to be kind of upset, thinking that you probably earned that playoff that head coaching job.
Absolutely. But the thing that I think a lot of interim head coaches know in the back of their mind, regardless of how their team plays after the fact, is that they know that interim tag is just an interim tag. And when you have a location like Las Vegas, you feel like you need to get a big time coach. You need to make a big time
Mhm.
splash. So, I think that would be the mindset behind the Raiders. But, you know, I think if you're Mark Davis, you want a Jim Harbaugh because the Rich Bisaccia name does not reach out to the
Mhm.
masses like everybody else. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact. And can you really blame the Raiders want to take that route?
No.
Not really, because honestly, the Raiders are not a team that you can just scoff at and be like, oh, they're not that good. We can handle them. The Raiders will fight you every week. So that's one of those things where who are they going to hire somebody that's going to take them to the next step? And I think the Raiders organization is thinking that exact thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Bears as well too, and I think it was you who tweeted it. You said Harbaugh head coach, Joe Brady offensive coordinator, and that's not a thought that I think anyone would have seen as a possibility 2 months ago. And now, if you look at it, I would say it's kind of a real possibility for the Bears at this point, especially with what is it, the third report of the season saying that Nagy's officially out after this week.
Yeah.
If you got Harbaugh, you brought in Brady, and Fangio ends up getting fired in Denver, you bring him back to be your defensive coordinator. That's a pretty damn good coaching staff, if you ask me.
Oh, I agree. And I think the two biggest things for Harbaugh, at least on the NFL level, because college is a little different. You're not going to have a lot of guys from the NFL jump to the college level on a coordinator level. But I do think it's a good thing to mix familiarity and experience. And when Fangio was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, they had top-ranked defenses almost every single season. And then you have Joe Brady as a guy that could be maybe more of a whisperer than Harbaugh when it comes to Justin Fields, especially with the young aspect coming into play. So I do think that would be a dream pairing per se, but obviously as a Michigan fan, it's bittersweet because who else are you going to hire? Outside of if Jim Harbaugh leaves, there's no big names that you could target. And the one thing I do fear, and this is kind of a long shot, it's kind of something that's like out of left field. I'm afraid that we're going to hire Les Miles, and everything's going to be so damn outdated, and it's going to be brutal.
Oh, someone of that caliber. But I mean, if you're Michigan, Harbaugh walks, you have to imagine they hand a blank check to Luke Fickell, and that would be tough considering he's an Ohio State guy. Who knows if he still has that weird type of grudge where he wouldn't go to Michigan. But if you get that head coaching job offer, you have to imagine you accept that, something of that caliber. And you have to imagine if Harbaugh goes, that's who they go after. That's what I would think.
He's on the top of the list. And honestly, you look at the college ranks, the list is short. It's very, very short. And with your Michigan coming off the year you're coming off of, you have to hit a home run with the next hire if that's going to be the case. You have to. So it's going to be tough. So hopefully Harbaugh does come back because, Bears fans may not want to hear this, but Harbaugh's not going to be the end all be all if y'all don't hire him. It's okay. There's a lot of other candidates out there that will probably be just as good as Harbaugh. So if that's not the case, then Bears fans should not panic at all.
No, I agree. And obviously that whole conversation circling back started with the college football playoffs. And we have what everyone kind of saw coming back of their head. They kind of knew that it was going to happen, an SEC national championship. And end of the day, you have the two best teams in the country playing in the national championship. At end of the day, it's going to be a great game. And I've been seeing a lot of people saying that there needs to be some type of recruiting restrictions put on the SEC, all the yada, 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 yeah, because you can do that. NIL is supposed to bring parity, which it did. You had a group of 5 team in the playoff this year. You had Michigan back. This was a reset year for college football, and the more things change, the more they stay the same. Saban in Alabama and Kirby Smart in Georgia in the national championship. Nothing's going to change until Nick Saban decides to retire from coaching the game of football. And that won't happen until he is 6 feet under.
Yep. And here's the thing. I get it. I think a lot of this is coming from the pure hatred of not having your team up there in a national championship, college football play, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people wanted to see Alabama against Georgia again because they knew in the back of their minds those are the two best teams in the country. And I think that was like the general consensus throughout the entire season. So, obviously I'm a Michigan fan, but I'm also a college football fan. I like to see good competition. So I'm not upset at seeing Georgia against Alabama. It's the game that it's one of those things where you get to the stage of the playoff and you're just like, you know what, an upset would be cool, but I think it's too easy to have the two best teams in the final stage. And you know what? I get that thinking, but at the end of the day, there will never be anything wrong with seeing the two best teams go for it for the national championship. So it should be a good game. I think people just need to enjoy it. Who gives a damn about if it's an all SEC national championship or whatever? I get the frustration. My team got its ass whooped by an SEC team, so I understand. But at the end of the day, enjoy the college football, man, because this is the last game you're gonna have until September. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much echoes exactly what I was going to say. You're seeing the two most talented teams. I mean, Michigan looked completely outmatched by Georgia, and Cincy did as well. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Cincy hung with Alabama a lot better than I think people expected, and a shout out to them because they after that
Absolutely.
first drive, Alabama smacked them in the mouth, drove down the field with ease. I mean, Georgia honestly kind of did it easier against Michigan, which blew my mind that first drive. But since he came out their first drive, they kicked a field goal. Obviously, you're not going to beat Alabama with field goals at Cincinnati. You're not going to do it. But you saw Luke Fickell make the adjustments. They were doing 3 men on the offensive line, and they were just getting eaten alive, or defensive line, excuse me. They were just getting eaten alive. They make the adjustments. And I think Cincy's how they responded in the second half says a lot about Luke Fickell as a coach, but I also think it shows in a way, I think that kind of opens the argument a bit more for the expanded playoff because Alabama really didn't start pouring it on Cincy until fourth quarter, and it was an ass kicking start to finish. Let's not beat around the bush. But hypothetically, if you expand to a 12-team playoff, you don't give these teams a month to prepare for each other. You have a week.
Absolutely.
You have a week in between games, and I'm not saying Cincy would beat Alabama, but if Nick Saban doesn't have a week or doesn't have a month, say he has a week instead after Cincy is the 4 seed and beats up on Oklahoma State or Notre Dame again, for example, if they were to square off in a 12-team playoff, I think that game's a little closer. So I think in a way, as strange as it sounds, losing by 3 scores, Cincy opens up that argument a bit more for an expanded playoff.
And I have gone back and forth with myself on whether I would like it because I just think it just opens up more of a possibility of seeing more blowouts in the playoffs. And truthfully, we don't want to see that because even with the Michigan and Georgias, you could see the total gap in talent. And truthfully, I just don't think it's worth it wasting playoff spots because it puts more on the line when you have 4 teams. And it just feels more right. It feels more of the 4 best teams before most deserving teams get in with an opportunity to play in the national championship. So I get the whole expansion talk, but I do think that it would ruin the whole allure of the playoff itself.
No, and that's a valid argument. But then, like my argument for an expanded playoff, just because you're seeing, and granted, I don't care if players opt out. This is just me strictly looking at it from the NCAA's perspective and the College Football Playoff Committee's perspective. If you want to incentivize kids to opt out or to opt in and make sure they play in these games, you're going to want to have Matt Corral in a playoff. So, I mean, granted, Matt Corral played. That's a bad example. He played and got hurt, but I think that's why thought was in my head. But someone like the running back from Michigan State, I don't know why his name is slipping. His name's slipping, but if Michigan State was to make, if they were to make the playoff, he's most likely going to play that game. And it just incentivizes keeping these guys coming back because you haven't seen anyone opt out from that 14 playoff yet. Granted, I think that day will come eventually. And when that day comes, I think that's when the change really starts to come with the expanded playoff. But we've been having this argument since the playoff has been a thing. I really don't think anything changes anytime soon.
You do bring up a good point with incentivizing guys playing and giving them more of a reason to opt in to play. But considering how the NCAA has such a history with screwing with the students, that I think that they'll probably take that to account in expanding. So And if they make money off of their injuries and their torn ACLs or broken ribs, they will be absolutely ecstatic with that because they don't give a damn. We know this.
Oh God. So speaking of not giving a damn, biggest news story of the weekend, Antonio Brown just leaving the field in, I guess you could say, frenzy, stripping on the sideline, throwing his pads, his jersey, his gloves into the stands, and like celebrating as he ran off the field at MetLife against the Jets mid-play. It's a wild story with AB, man. Like you feel bad because you don't actually know what's going on, but he's been very active on social media the past few days. He dropped a song. He's him and his agent just posted a statement saying that he'll be back 100% next year with a different team. He's having ankle surgery, and apparently the spat was that he had a disagreement with team doctors where they cleared him for re-entry into the game. He said he didn't feel healthy enough to play with his ankle, and that's where it's coming from. And I do hope that's what it is. I genuinely hope that that's what it was, just a disagreement with that. Granted, he overreacted a little bit. I would much rather it be that, though, than what everyone, I mean, the doctors, people playing doctor on Twitter, diagnosing him with CTE and a condition that we know absolutely jack shit about. No one knows anything about it in living brains. It's just you feel for him, but then again, it's just Antonio Brown. End of the day, has a long list of shit that's wrong with him, so you don't feel bad, but you want to laugh. It's just such a weird situation. I don't know how you feel about it.
I've gone back and forth with this because like initially you saw what Antonio Brown did. It's like, damn, this is 2019 all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the true unraveling of Antonio Brown once again, because at this point, he had the fake vaccination, which was really stupid because he got the vaccine not too long after he got the fake vaccination card.
Yeah.
And then he's saying, then he had a reporter ask him about that and saying the media is nothing but drama. And then this is pulled. So if the doctor cleared him, but he wasn't cleared to go back in, that's a whole other discussion we need to have.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like that's like the whole Tyrod Taylor situation again, where like almost in that same vein, where he tried fixing him and punctured his lung on the sideline, broke his ribs, and he lost his starting job. It's
right.
Like in that same vein.
Right. I agree. And I think the NFL will maybe need to get involved with seeing see how that whole process went down, because something's not right. Something's really not right there. But you mentioned something about how people on Twitter were playing doctor with the whole CTE situation, saying that he has it. And I tweeted that his brain sizzled up on the sideline or whatever, and and I've had like a theory that he does have like some early stages of CTE.
Oh, I mean,
now
for sure,
for sure. Right. It may be disingenuous to say that, but I do think that as time goes on, where we don't have a lot of deaths that are that in the football lane, we kind of forget that CTE is going to occur in a lot of brains within football players. So whenever we say that someone has CTE because they see erratic behavior, it may be disingenuous, but it's something we may have to keep an eye on a little bit more, because we've had some unexpected deaths over the past it's just like the 2000s, some really unexpected deaths, and then when the brains are studied, they find a case of CTE. So I think Antonio Brown may not think something is wrong with him, but if you are a friend of his, you probably need to step in and say, bro, I love you and I want you to get your money, and I don't want you to get blackballed from the NFL. So before you even think about getting back on the field, we need to get you some help. We need to see what's going on in your brain, man, because you either had Deion Sanders trying to help him, and it seemed like that didn't really resonate. And but that's also based off of, if it turns out that he was trying to get forced back into the game off an ankle injury, then he's, in my opinion, he's in the right. I say the
for sure.
theatrics. I say
For
the
sure.
theatrics. The theatrics were not needed, but he is completely in the right. If he wanted to embarrass the Buccaneers, because let's be honest, the Buccaneers were trying to make a point and embarrass him, if that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, there is a lot of layers of this story that's going to keep coming out. But for now, we just got to go with what is given to us at the moment. And at the moment, if it is true that he got forced back into the game, then AB is in the right. But the bigger picture is that he may need some help because he's still a loony dude. So like, there's a lot of layers to attack here. It really is.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this unfolds, especially after Adam Schefter just tweeted out that super lengthy response from AB and his agent. I haven't read it in completion yet, but I'm for sure gonna do that after this. But speaking of Adam Schefter, did you see that he tore his ACL doing the Gritty? Like, yeah, the dude tore his ACL. I mean, that's why old middle-aged white men just they can't do shit like that. It's just you're fucked.
I want my brothers to stop gassing to do it too, because this should be a lesson. Like, stop it, please. They don't got the knees for that. And they know that too.
Dude, I just like, and you know Schefter, every time he does it, back of his head, he's thinking, oh man, I look so goddamn cool right now. I mean, also another Adam Schefter thing. I saw him and Woj. I think they just think they're the funniest two dudes on Twitter. They tweeted like Schefter tweeted per at Woj ESPN and myself, we've entered 2022, a new year. It's like, they're sitting there texting each other on the side, laughing at themselves about that. And definitely. It's just, oh God. I mean, that's gotta be one of, I'll call it a sports injury because I'll call it a sports injury. That's got to be one of the more ridiculous sports injuries of all time. I mean, you're not playing the game. Who was the football coach who, God, I think it was like five-ish years ago. He was on the sideline, and I think he tore his ACL mid-game. He was a college coach. I think he got like rolled up in a play. I forgot who it was. I might be making this up. I don't know, but I feel like I remember this happening. But that's not as bad as what Adam Schefter did.
It screams of Lamar Houston back in New England, like 2014. We did that sack celebration.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. All right. So staying in the NFL, moving on to the New York Giants and Joe Judge. I know you have some thoughts about this, but Giants are a complete mess. They're a dumpster fire. They have the worst record in the NFL the past 5 years. And it really doesn't seem like it at times because they've had a ton of talent there. Like they have had talent there and they just haven't put it together. I mean, Daniel Jones, he stinks. I was a Daniel Jones believer for a few years, and I'm just at the point now where I'm over him. He's never going to develop into anything. He's a Duke quarterback. What did you expect? Saquon can't stay healthy, and it's a shame because early on, before he started getting banged up, he looked like he was going to be a generational talent in the league. And now you have Joe Judge, who all-time trying to save my ass move in a post-game press conference, saying that Matt Nagy's a great coach. He runs a great scheme. The Bears are a very talented team and great coached. And then saying that he has former players from the Giants texting him saying that they wish they were with the Giants, who've won, I think, 3 or 4 games this year, even though they're making more money elsewhere, which that is the biggest lie I have ever heard in my entire life.
It's an all-time horrendous lie. Come on, man. But I'm going to get to that. So Joe Judge, I think I laid it out about a couple of months back. I think he was doing the season predictions, and he acts like that guy who knows guys. So he tries to act like that guy when he truly is not.
That's a perfect way to describe him. It's like, yeah, I mean, you've seen it, not to cut you off, with virtually every coordinator who has left New England. Literally.
And it's so funny to me. But like you have blamed everybody at this point. You fired coordinators, you've called out players, you're not talking to certain media members in certain states. And it's crazy to me that this is the guy that the Giants want to build around. And people wondering why Joe Judge has this immunity basically for at least for this upcoming season. And it comes back to two things. Number one, the Giants probably feel like Joe Judge has not had every piece to work with, which in all honesty, it could be true, but it's also a lot of the things that you've seen from the past year from the Giants. Everything is still the same. Number two, it goes back to something that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. When Joe Judge was hired, everybody kind of scratched their head. Everybody was like, okay, well, who is this guy? Oh, he's from the Saban and Belichick tree. Oh, okay, I see why. But guess what? There was not any other team that was calling him for an interview for a head coaching job. So where am I getting at with this? The Maras want to look extremely smart with this hire, that they want to really make their investment work to the point where even if 2 years down the road, they're still in the same spot or worse, that they're still going to make it work. And it goes back to his press conferences when he's talking about, oh, we're close, we're right there. You were 6-10 last year. You were the same guy that sat up there in a press conference at season's end talking about the integrity of the game and saying how the Eagles disrespected the game of football by taking out their starters and allowing Washington to get into a playoff spot. You were 6-10, okay? You were 6-10. You didn't deserve to get into the playoffs with a 6-10 record. And now with the offseason that y'all had, where y'all brought in people, y'all paid a lot of money for a lot of guys. And somehow, some way, you get worse. You fire Jason Garrett, you bring up Freddie Kitchens, and still everything gets worse. But you are going to sit there and talk about, we're getting better. We're almost there. I have to build a culture here. Oh, and by the way, there's former players that's calling me saying they would play for me for less money. I want to ask you one question. Who are the people? Name them. You have to name the people. You cannot attach names with a statement like that, and you do not name the names, or else you have officially told the biggest lie in sports in the past 15 to 20 years.
Dude, I looked at the free agents who left the Giants last year, and it was like a defensive back who's now on the Chargers, who Chargers are in a spot where they're making the playoffs. So unless you're just not touching the field and you're worried about that, hey, I get it. You want to play. I forgot his name. And then Wayne Gallman was like the only other name I could find. I mean, if you're really hanging your hat on Wayne fucking Gallman to come back, like saying that kind of stuff, boo-hoo. What are you doing with the talent you have on your team? You have a young quarterback who people thought had the potential to be a franchise quarterback. Daniel Jones hasn't done shit. He sucks. And then they come out, when was it, 2-3 weeks ago, announcing that Daniel Jones is going to be the starter next year. No one was questioning that. I mean, not a single soul on the planet was questioning that. That is the most desperate. Yeah, I mean, I'm in constant communication with ownership and upper management. We both decided that Daniel Jones is going to be our quarterback. That's him just trying to cover for himself, in my opinion. Then you have, Evan Ingram. He sucks. The dude can't catch football. Super athletic. Should be better than he is. Just can't catch football. End of the day, he sucks. Was a Pro Bowler. Now he's a bum. But you bring in Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay was a stud in Detroit.
Absolutely.
And I think he maybe has 20, 30 catches this year. They signed him to like 4 years, $72 million deal. And I don't even think he's active most weeks. Granted, he was banged up for a while. Like I acknowledge that. But how don't you involve your $72 million wide receiver? You got to imagine he's shaking his head that he signed there. I can't imagine him and Joe Judge getting along very well.
It's crazy to me that the constant communication with the front office is literally what he's hanging his hat on. It's not building relationships with the players. It's not building relationships with the fans. It's all of this press conference nonsense that he's doing is talking up why he should be back next season and why they should build around him. And that's to me, it is insane. How have the Giants fallen this far? This is one of the premier franchises. I have friends that are Giants fans. They are miserable. They're hopping bandwagons now, and it's going to continue. They're going to keep Joe Judge, and I don't give a damn who they hire for GM. It could be an in-house hire. It could be out of a house hire. They're going to keep him because the Mariners want him. What has he done to build around him? What has he done? I don't understand it. It's like, I think they're like really, really into the fact that he talks up a big game and he has this rah-rah approach. But really, when you do that after every single loss, you look insecure because you're the loudest one in the room and you're talking all of this. You look insecure.
Do I know what it really reminds me of, to be completely honest, just as I sit here listening to you talk about it? It reminds me of fucking Michael Scott Paper Company. When he leaves Dunder Mifflin because he wants to do it on his own and prove that he could do it. He can't do it. He's a bum. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just, it's frustrating. And you said that the dumbest thing he said, one of the most outrageous sports things that's been said in the last 10, 15 years was him saying that he has old players coming back and texting him saying he wants to be there. I think the most outrageous part of that press conference was him saying that Matt Nagy and the Bears are Matt Nagy is an incredible coach and the Bears are a very well-coached team. I mean, that if you think Matt Nagy is a good coach, what do you think that says about you as a coach?
Like, my man, you should be on the unemployment line right with them. Like, what do you mean? This was the tipping point. You cannot, I was telling my friends, most of them are Giants fans. I was telling them, yo, this game's going to be 9-6. I don't know who's going to win, but it's going to be 9-6. You got pounced 29-3 to, in my opinion, and you could probably share the same opinion, to one of the worst teams in the league. We're not a good football team.
Nope.
We're not at all. And
your quarterback had negative passing yards. Mike Glennon, that was a great thing watching that, remembering that Ryan Pace paid him $45 million at one point.
You know, the funny thing about that is that game, what should be self-incriminating on Ryan Pace. Let's think about it. That was the guy he paid $30 million to be. I don't give a damn if he's supposed to be a stopgap. I don't care.
You don't pay a stopgap $30 million to begin with.
Under any circumstances, you don't do that. So I know this is about to be deviating from one topic to another, but if you saw that on the field and you want a vote of confidence whether to bring Ryan Pace back, look at that game and tell me that he should be in charge of running the Bears or be in the organization under any circumstances.
Do I know what's going to happen?
Hell. I mean,
do I know what this is exactly what's going to happen?
Just a lot going on. It's just bad shit crazy.
Exactly what's going to happen with the Bears and Ryan Pace. It's going to be the exact same thing that every Chicago sports franchise does when they don't want to get rid of their GM. They give them they make them step down because they'll say, we'll fire you, or you could step down and you could become a special advisor to the president or the head of football operations, even though you're not going to do anything. And it's going to be the same thing. Kenny Williams won one of the White Sox World Series as general manager. Awesome with what he did. Forever grateful for Kenny Williams. He shouldn't still be a part of the Chicago White Sox. He just sits he probably has an office right next door to Jerry Reinsdorf and doesn't do jack shit. It's Rick Hahn's team. And it's going to be the same thing that happens with Pace just because, he brought him to the playoffs and they won a division in 2018. But, he's gone through he's going to be 3 head coaches, multiple quarterbacks. Hopefully Fields is the last, but it's just, it's, you're numb to management. Like as a Chicago fan growing up in Chicago, I'm just so numb to management of my teams being so incompetent and bad at their jobs. It's just like, you're used to it. You're used to it at this point. And other fan bases across the country are used to it too, because there's no reason Chicago teams should not be at the best of the best in every single Big Four league. I mean, it's the 3rd biggest city in the country. It's some of the most diehard fans in the world, regardless of sports, if you ask me. regardless of country. It doesn't matter. Yeah, no one ever wants to come play here because they know how poorly all these teams are managed. But hey, Ryan Pace is probably going to keep his job because Robert Quinn just broke the sack record. Can't forget about that.
Yeah, yeah. I did not. I didn't think about it that way. I was thinking more of that the long neck guy playing quarterback for us, and ugh,
God,
nasty
it's so
stuff.
yeah, yeah. But just pivoting a little bit towards Major League Baseball, there's two things I wanted to touch on. First one being a little bit it's on the media side. MLB Network firing Ken Rosenthal because Rob Manfred did not agree with what he said and he was too harsh of him. I just don't get Major League Baseball, man. Like they do everything in their power to shoot themselves in the foot, and it never gets any better. And every baseball fan in the world, I feel like, hates Rob Manfred, and he is rapidly approaching Roger Goodell levels of hatred.
I'm not gonna lie to you. He might have surpassed them. I think over the past, for the next coming months, you're gonna see he's gonna surpass them, and solely off the fact that we don't know how long this lockout is gonna last. We really don't. But I saw a great tweet from somebody, and someone said Rob Manfred said for a half of the season, the fans are not allowed into stadiums due to the criticism of his work. How sensitive and a big ass crybaby do you have to be to cost the man his job? Ken Rosenthal is one of the best in the game of what he does, and it's a damn shame that I believe since MLB Network's inception, he's been a part of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's been a major part of it. It's just thin skin, insecure. It's just bad. It's just overall bad. I really feel for Ken Rosenthal, but he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be right back on the Athletic, writing about Rob Manfred. He's gonna be right back on Fox talking about Rob Manfred. So it really doesn't make a difference unless he's just gonna just make a call to every executive say fire this guy. But let's hope that's not the case. But Rosenthal's gonna be okay.
But yeah, I mean, especially in his tweet too, you could kind of tell that obviously you're going to be upset by that. He was with MLB Network for 12 years. You're going to be upset when you're doing your job. You're doing your job and people don't agree with you. And it's ridiculous. But I'm just happy the Athletic, Fox Sports, nothing's changing with that because, like you said, he's the best, one of the best in the business at what he does. And who knows if we were even going to have a baseball season to get mad about this year, anyways. But on a less serious note, with baseball, one of my least favorite sports stories of all time was revolving the White Sox way back in I believe it was 2016 when they decided they were going to sign and try and stop the rebuild again. They're going to sign a 30-something-year-old Adam LaRoche, and Adam LaRoche, he had a great career. Let's not beat around the bush. He did. He was great. But it's the White Sox MO. They're going to sign aging corner infielders and corner outfielders who are going to come in DH and hit okay. And people are going to say, oh, I forgot. The White Sox are the number one team in baseball. We were like, oh, shit, that guy played there. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jimmy Rollins, Manny Ramirez, Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, I could keep going and going and going with these guys. But Adam LaRoche is one of those. And so, I mean, so why I'm talking about Adam LaRoche is the White Sox were very on the record known being a family-friendly clubhouse, but Adam LaRoche decided that he was going to bring his son, a 14-year-old Drake LaRoche, in at the time, and he was at the clubhouse every single day. And like I mentioned, Jimmy Rollins, who somehow ended up on the White Sox before Tim Anderson took over at shortstop. Jimmy Rollins in spring training kind of called out LaRoche, went to upper management saying, why the fuck does Adam LaRoche have his kid in the clubhouse 24/7? He's there every single day. And then the White Sox make a comment to LaRoche about it, and LaRoche says, all right, I'm going to retire. What goes on and happens then? Adam Eaton goes to the fucking media and says that we lost a leader today. Not talking about Adam LaRoche, talking about his 14-year-old son, Drake LaRoche. And what do you know? I see come across my timeline the other day. 18-year-old Drake LaRoche is now married. What the fuck are you doing at 18 years old getting married? At 18 years old, I was worried about finding who was going to buy me my beer for the weekend. He's married, and I guarantee you it's a shotgun wedding. I guarantee it's a shotgun wedding.
Hey, man, listen. Part of me wishes I was Drake LaRoche at 18 years old, finding the love of my life. And granted, we don't really know if it's the love of his life, but you know what I mean. He, but other than that, number one, I'm old. I'm very old. That story just hit me like a damn truck. And next thing you know, my damn back hurting. Number two, um, I just the age, 18 years old. You have a lot of life ahead of you. Listen, I'm not gonna wish bad on them. I wish them all the best. But my God, I hope they're settled. I hope everything. I hope they got everything together. Cause damn, if I get married at 18, my mom probably won't be at the wedding. She'll be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Dude. And it's like I don't want to dump on him for getting married. Like I don't. But like 18 years old, you should be going out and blacking out on some shitty plastic bottle alcohol and not remembering and praying that you don't get caught by your parents. Instead, you're going home to your wife. Like, could you imagine? I mean, you're what, 24, 25?
24.
Could you imagine 6 years ago? You've been married for 6 years already. Like it just the dude probably I don't even know what he could be up to at 18 years old being married. Are you going to college married? Because man, that would fucking suck.
All I'm saying is this: you're married at 18, and by at least 24, you're already going to be tired of her. So I hope that's his person. I hope that's his person. But damn, my man, you gotta let your your prom years, your early prom years run before you settle down. I mean, damn.
So, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm sure you'd be the same way. One of your good friends, one of your good buddies, tells you, "Hey, I'm gonna marry this girl." Shows you a ring at 18 years old. One, I'm asking, where'd you get the money for that? Obviously, Drake LaRoche is a little different in this situation, but like, if one of my buddies at 18 told me that they were getting married, I'd laugh in their face. I would laugh in their face and call them an idiot because, quite frankly, you're done. You're grown up. I mean, granted, you probably had a few years until you're technically all grown up, anyways. But I just, I, I don't get it. I don't get it. She has to be pregnant. That's my only thing. She has to be pregnant. It's a shotgun wedding, or it's one of those, things where I know the Roaches are one of those very, very Southern Christian families, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? I can't wait anymore. I can't wait anymore.
Oof, I didn't think about that. That sucks for him. But if I was in a situation where my friend showed me a ring, he's gonna marry the girl, I'm like, listen, man, I'll be at your wedding. I'm saying congratulations.
Yep.
But I hope you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you signed away your life at 18 years old, man. I mean, damn. I mean, damn. Like, like I said, I wish them the best, but could it be me? Even my pet, even 18-year-old me, it couldn't be me. No thanks.
What about I know I've seen your old Facebook post. What about younger Brandon? We're talking 13, 14, 15-year-old Brandon.
Oh, let me tell you something. I at 13, 14 years old, if I was forecasting that I would have a girlfriend at 18, I would probably want to marry her 5 months into the relationship. That's how crazy I was.
Dude, I get the biggest kick out of you posting those on Twitter because those were the thoughts of, I would say, majority of 13, 14-year-old boys at the time. You were just had no shame in putting them out there. And that was incredible. They're absolutely incredible every single time.
You know, I show Twitter what I want to show them, but I'm going to tell y'all it gets way, way, way worse than what I show y'all. So I will only show y'all what I want to show y'all, but just know it's horrible the things I don't show y'all.
Oh God. All right. So that is gonna wrap up today's show. A lot of good discussion today. We touched a lot of bases. Very happy about that. But again, thanks for making it this far. If you have, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the show, and we'll see you next time.